He's 6'2", 190 pounds, in a nightmare matchup for any defensive back assigned to cover him. His coach calls him the most gifted receiver in the state, but what makes DaMarkus Lodge one of the most best wide receivers in the nation could just be two words.
Patience and trust. Those are two words that a typical 15-year-old does not have in his vocabulary. As a sophomore, Cedar Hill wide receiver DaMarkus Lodge had to learn those words real quick if he hoped to reach his potential as a football player. Going into the 2012 season, Lodge felt it was his time to shine. But playing behind four future Division I receivers, Coach Joey McGuire urged DaMarkus to be something he wasn't used to being: patient.
At first, it was pretty frustrating my sophomore year, sitting behind Quincy and Quill, knowing that I could play.
We knew how good he was going to be, but he was also facing guys that were going to go to Ole Miss and go to, or trying to compete against guys that were going to A&M. So it wasn't like he was competing against guys that weren't as good as him. You know, it was one of those deals that he had to just keep learning, wait his time, and we knew it was going to happen.
Being patient is easier said than done, and it would have been even harder if Lodge had a coach he didn't believe in. But DaMarkus had Joey McGuire, the consummate player's coach, and Lodge decided to rely on another word: trust.
Just me trusting Coach McGuire so much and trusting his word, because he's never went back on his word on anything. Everything he says is going to happen. So, I mean, him just being loyal to me, it helped me stick that out.
At the beginning, it was a little frustrating, but he figured they put him on varsity to learn, watch the game. That way, to his junior year, he can excel.
And Lodge certainly did excel. His junior year, DaMarkus changed Cedar Hill's motto from TTHL, turn the horns loose, to TDLL, turn DaMarkus Lodge loose. In his first year of starting at receiver, Lodge hauled in 72 passes for over 1,600 yards and 22 touchdowns. He became an instant threat from day one, and a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare.
If you go one-on-one with DaMarkus, then you got a chance to hear our band and our fight song. And that's not being arrogant, that's facts. I mean, you go through and you look at who he played last year, and the better you are, or the more offers you have, I think the better he's going to be. He's that good.
There was a time when there was some doubt that Lodge would ever play for Cedar Hill. As a freshman, in a training session, Lodge would go up against Hebron's Jamal Adams, a future LSU Tiger. Adams played physical with Lodge all day and almost drove the wide-eyed freshman out of the sport.
First time out there, Jamal Adams pressed him real hard. I mean, like really hard. It was unexpected, and that kind of broke his will a little bit. Things like that, I don't know.
He gave me doubts on whether I wanted to play football or not. I mean, I started training with basketball. I thought that was going to be my sport, but I took what Jamal did to me as motivation to get better and work out every day. That was my motivation. So I'm glad that happened.
The Longhorn faithful are glad Lodge chose to continue on the gridiron because he helped lead Cedar Hill to a state championship last year. During the playoffs, the coaching staff added a new Lodge cap formation in order to give him more touches. It worked perfectly as he scored a huge second-half touchdown out of the Lodge cap that helped spark the comeback. Now, Coach McGuire says there may be one more wrinkle to look out for.
I'll tell you what's going to be scary. It's going to be added to it. And, you know, I'm not trying to surprise anybody. I mean, anybody hears this, but he's got an arm. He's got the second best arm on our team. So don't be surprised if he doesn't throw it a couple of times. And, you know, we usually keep our quarterback in the game. So we're coming up with some pretty good trick plays out of the Lodge cap.
Lodge committed to Texas A&M in the summer, but a couple of weeks ago he decommitted from Aggieland. Doesn't mean he won't end up there, but it does mean a lot of D1 coaches have smiles on their face knowing they got another chance at this stud receiver. When Inside High